Rangers Journal.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday night's edition of the Rangers Journal. I will be your host for this evening. My name is Chris, and what a panel I have got tonight for you folks. This is a cracking panel. First of all, I'd just like to welcome Joanne. Joanne, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing this evening? You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's great to have you, Joanne. I know you're a wee bit nervous and stuff, but Dino, Craigie and I will take care of you tonight, and you've got lots of viewers who'll be watching and also be looking forward to your input into tonight's conversation. So welcome and great to have you on board. Craig, how you doing, mate? Are you doing well?
Yes, mate, I'm good. Glad to be back. Just the second one for me, but happy to be here. Hope everything goes well.
Great to have you, mate. Great to have you. And Dino, I know you're just in the door, mate, and you've got the Ranger stuff on already. How's your day been, mate? And you feeling good?
Aye, feeling good, mate. Just been busy all day, so hence the late finish, but ready to rock and roll.
Excellent. Great to have you. And look, what a panel we've got today. This is going to be a good one, I think. Start off, folks, for anyone watching, please, if you can, on our socials, like and subscribe, help the channel as much as possible. It would be much appreciated. Just like to welcome you all to tonight's show. Proudly sponsored by Bluebells and Puerto del Carmen and Lanzarote. Please give the guys a like and follow. And if you're over in Lanzarote, please join into the bar. Thanks again to the guys for the sponsors. Joanne, I've always been told, always let the ladies go first, so I'm going to let yourself go first today. I know you're a bit nervous, but we'll let you go first. Before we get into the topic, tell us a little bit about yourself, Joanne. I know you've got the bar and stuff like that, and you know Scotty and the rest of the guys through the bar and stuff. Let's do a wee bit of a plug on your bar, first of all, if we can, and just let the viewers watching from home know a wee bit about yourself, if you could, please.
Yeah, so I'm the manager in the Rosevale in Partick, which previously was Walter Smith Bar. So I've been there since February. Loving it. It's a great place. Lovely people, lovely punters, very busy. Yeah, it's great. Loving it.
Great stuff. And a wee shout out to anyone who's watching. If they want to go along to the bar at any point in time, then they can do so. You'll be welcomed by Joanne and the staff over there, so please feel free. And Joanne, the bar on social media and stuff like that as well, is it on any of the socials just now?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, not on TikTok yet. I'm not the best with TikTok. I'm just learning it myself, watching, never mind making them. So yeah, we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram.
Excellent, great stuff. And guys, if you can, just go and pay the bar a visit and let Joanne know you're there. I'm sure there'll be some discounts flying about somewhere, Joanne, for the guys on the journal. So if you mention the journal, mention Scotty. I think Scotty's got a tab behind the bar there as well, I think, so he has. So you never know. You maybe get something from Scotty. I think Scotty's watching at the moment, and if he is, apologies, Scotty, I've just put your credit card bill through the roof, so I do apologise on that one. Guys, I think just probably want to start off. There's been some breaking news tonight, not about a new manager, but a manager pulled out the process. Danny Rowe, in the last few minutes, we've heard has dropped out. He stated to Rangers he's no longer interested. Now, that's a bit of an interesting one because it seems to be a lot of managers dropping out the process this week. He's followed on from Gerrard dropping out earlier on in the week, and it now seems to be all roads are leading to Kevin Muscat from what we're hearing. Craig, just to start from yourself, first of all, before we get into the topic of tonight's show, is it a surprise that Danny Rowe has dropped out, and do you think that's maybe because he knows what's coming next?
Possibly. You can never really tell because we're not there in the room in the meetings, knowing what's being said and things like that. But he's possibly seen that Muscat's the favourite and pulled himself out of it. I know he said something about it's not the right time for him. I know that he took over at the last club he was at was Sheffield Wednesday, and they are in a complete state and have been for a while. So I'm not sure I buy that because it's never the right time to go into a club in that state. So I it's maybe just because he's seen that he's no longer being touted as a favourite. But then if you look at the rumours that have come out today, Gerrard's back in the bookies' favourite. I seen one earlier saying Thelwell been sacked. So there's loads of stuff going on through the rumour mill. So who knows for sure? But yeah, it's probably just because he's seen he's no longer the number one guy.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on with that, Craig. I think that's possibly the reason, and he's probably done it to try and save himself a bit of face on this one, if I'm being honest. And look, we know it's not been the greatest process at the moment in terms of how Rangers have done it, but hopefully we're on the way to getting a manager sorted by the weekend. Dino, somebody had you lined up to be the manager for this weekend as well. At one point, you seem to do everything else other than manage Rangers at the moment. So would that have been something you'd have been interested in, Dino?
What do you think?
Oh, 100%, mate. 100%. Take it. You do a better job than anyone else, so you would. So, but no, it's Muscat for you. Is he the man to take us forwards?
Aye, I would say so. Now, I don't think actually like Danny Rowe pulling out. I'll be quite honest with you, is no great surprise, shock, miss. To be quite honest with you, don't think at this stage of his career, as I said the other day, is good for him. Could have well been career suicide for the young manager. So maybe later on in his career, maybe would be better for him. But managing club like Rangers in the current state of affairs, I think you're going to have to be a bit been around the block a bit more than what he has. To be quite honest with you, because he'd be coming in and be up against it for the moment that he sits in the seat. So yeah, Muscat ticks every single box I think every single Rangers fan wants ticked. Yeah,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think I was on the Gerrard train all last week on holiday, and I tell you, I was checking my phone every single day, and I'm not going to lie, I was gutted when I seen that message dropped on Saturday night to say he wasn't there. That was a tough one. But look, Muscat was a close second for me, and I'm delighted. I'm delighted he's there. Or I say delighted he's there. I'm going to jinx that, aren't I? He's not there yet, but he seems to be getting closer to it. Joanne, Muscat the guy for you, or do you think we should have been looking at far and wider than that?
No, I would Muscat 100%. I'm glad who's pulled out. A wee bit obviously disappointed with Gerrard. That can't deny it. Had a wee vodka when that came out that he'd pulled out. Obviously, it was everybody was set for it, weren't they? So, and the whole hype on the social media with Gerrard coming back, and then now you're just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But no, 100% Muscat. Back on.
I think. And look, I think this is we're talking about managers and identities and things like that. So I think let's look at the topic for tonight, folks. So what we want to try and look at tonight is Rangers getting back to basics again. What should Rangers look like? I think is one of the things we want to talk about tonight, and it probably takes a little bit of difference. A lot of the last few weeks has all been about Martin going and new manager coming in, and we all knew this was happening. We all knew the situation and where it was. So it's actually probably good to get back to a situation of saying, okay, what should Rangers look like? Because we haven't looked like ourselves over the last few weeks and months. Probably haven't looked like ourselves over the last few years, given what's been going on at the club. So I'd like to tonight, if we can, focus on back to basics. What should our identity be? I think that would be a good topic. So I'd love the people watching, so anyone that's watching just now, put in the comments if you can, what do you think the Rangers identity should look like? What should the club be setting themselves up for? How should the team be playing? Anything at all you want to get involved in the conversation, we'll try and bring up as much comments as we can. But James has just put on a winning team. That I would love to see a winning team as well. I totally agree with you on that one, James, because that's what we all want. So yeah, let's dive into that. I'll be bit, and Craig, I'll come to yourself first of all, right? And probably just on that, I'm probably throwing you into lines then here, Craig, because we've not really had much discussion on it. But let's start off by the identity that you've got from Rangers at the moment with Russell Martin and how he set up. Was that a step too far too quickly, or was it just the manager couldn't get his identity across, or do we not have the players? What do you think's been the issue in terms of Russell Martin and how we tried to play over these last few months?
So personally, I think the issue with Russell Martin is that the guy doesn't have an identity, or certainly not a winning one. The problem with Russell Martin is defensively his teams, and this is not just Rangers. This isn't just Rangers. This is Southampton had the same issues. Swansea had the same issues when he was there. Defensively, they're so passive and weak, and going forward, again, they're just so passive. They don't move the ball quickly enough. Players are congested and they don't have any room to move, and when they do, the passes tend to be shorter rather than playing a long ball through. And it was just everything was just disjointed, and it's been the same when he was at other clubs. So that was a problem with Russell Martin. In terms of identity, I want to see the last few Rangers managers now, from I don't know how many we can go back, but first press conferences, a lot of them come in talking about free-flowing, attacking football, which you might expect from Rangers in Scotland, and we shouldn't, on paper, considering the amount of money we can spend compared to other clubs in Scotland, we should have better players. But we have for years, especially domestically, not so much in Europe because we've had more success there, but domestically we concede far too many goals. So I would love to see a manager come in and build from the back, because you haven't even got. I don't think you've got that bad players at the back there right now. I think it's just missing a structure. So if you build a team, an identity where you build a solid backline to then move forward, because it becomes far too disjointed at times. And yeah, so that main thing for me is I want a manager to come in and sort us out at the back first, and then let the forward thinking players, the players that tend to have a bit more freedom, have that freedom, but have that set defense. So you don't concede.
Absolutely. Really good points, Greg. And I think, do you know if I can come on to yourself in this one as well? Just what Craig's saying there, I would agree wholeheartedly with everything. Would you agree with that? And probably the second part of that is, do we have a team just now that can play that way at the moment? Do you think these players are good enough to play that way?
It's tough question. Because the reason that is we have been subjected to very poor management and handling of our club, so it's hard to say that the players have the capacity to play like that. You want to say yes, but I think as much as it's down to capabilities in terms of footballing ability, there's a lot of mental ability that needs to be coincided with that. Yeah. And when you hear the opposition captains and stuff saying that they rub their hands at the prospect of playing Rangers, what I want first and foremost from a Rangers team is I want every team in the league to start feeding us again. I feel that's not been the case for even before Russell Martin came in, to be quite honest with you. It's been like that for too long to actually remember. So that needs to be changed, that, and build on that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Joanne, when I was younger and we brought up with Rangers, brought up through the Walter Smith era, and it was all about winning. I think someone said it earlier on, all it was for Rangers was winning, and that was the identity at the time. We've obviously lost that identity over the last few years or so. My question to yourself, Joanne, in this is, have we lost the identity because we've lost the manager structure like Walter Smith in terms of not having a figure like him anymore? Or is it down to just the players? What's your thoughts in terms of Rangers as a club? Is it purely driven by the manager, or is it just the players are not able to take on board what the new style of football under the Pep Guardiolas and stuff like that people are trying at the moment?
So Walter was obviously the main man, wasn't he? Everybody played for the manager. Personally, don't think when the manager loses a dressing room, for example, the players aren't going to play. So we've not had a manager that's been there that they're going to play for. You can tell with the performance on the park when they just sit back. But is it down to Martin? Is it down to the players just not playing? Like, there's that many players that's come in as well. Like, or can they not play the same style of football? Was it, you know, you just could be a bit of everything, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, do you know, one thing for me was I look at the styles that we've had over the last few managers, right? The one that you'd have thought would have set up perfectly would have been Michael Beale's team, because that was the style we loved when Gerrard was there. It was a style that took us to 55, and you would have looked at that and said to ourselves, that's the guy we want to be in charge of the club going forward. And I think at the time, most people were quite excited about the fact that we had the brains behind Gerrard coming in and taking on the squad. That was the feeling at the time. But I just don't think, absolutely, the hype with it, John, was incredible, you know what I mean? And I just think, I look at that now and I say to myself, we've not got, Gerrard was a stature for me previously. He wasn't obviously anywhere near as good as Walter, but he had that stature of someone who could lead the club again. I think Kevin Muscat will bring a stature to the club if he's the guy that's going to be there as well. But I'm thinking, is there maybe too much? And this is probably again where we'll come on to. And my point on this one is there maybe too much of an identity on a manager that we've actually went away from the identity on the club, because I think we talked as a club a few years back where we wanted to play the same formation, 4-3-3, across the youth levels right up to first team, and that seems to have fallen by the wayside mostly at the moment. So again, you wonder, is it the manager's identity, is it a club identity? And for me, I think it's all about Rangers have to have identity as a club again, and the identity as a club is we need to be winning. I think it was yourself, Dino, said the teams need to come to Ibrox and be scared to play at Ibrox. Teams are coming to Ibrox at the moment and loving the fact that they can come in and beat us 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever it's going to be, and they're getting the easiest game of their life at the moment. So I'm hoping from Saturday that will change. Craig, on that one, we're hearing obviously rumours, and we don't know anything more at the moment. We're hearing rumours that it's Muscat is the favoured one, and it could potentially be Neil McCann taking on. Let's say it's McCann. Let's go on hypotheticals at the moment, right? Let's say it's Neil McCann that comes in for this Saturday and he's the one that's in the dugout. Will he have the ability to put into place straight away what he thinks Kevin Muscat's identity for the team is going to be?
Well, it depends. That depends mostly on how much Neil McCann knows about Kevin Muscat, to be honest with you. Neil McCann needs to know everything about how Kevin Muscat wants his teams to play to then implement that. I think Neil McCann within himself, he was at Dundee, and he done fairly well keeping them up. Exactly how similar Neil McCann's style of play at Dundee is to Kevin Muscat's is I honestly couldn't tell you, but I think they'll definitely have some conversations, and Neil McCann will start to implement that. If this is what's going to happen, Neil McCann will do a good job. Will be able to do a job at implementing what Muscat wants until Muscat comes. And I think it's a good point to make as well. Muscat absolutely should stay in China until he comes, because he's got a league to win. I believe they're still in the Asian Champions League as well, and it's late into the season, so they've got a lot riding on that. And if he can win those trophies, people will talk about the level between China and Asia and Europe and whatever, and that's fine. But if you can win those trophies along with the record of winning trophies he has before, I don't see where you can go wrong with that, because winning football games is winning football games. It doesn't matter what level you're at.
Absolutely. You know, I've brought up the comment Doug has just made, and Doug, thanks for tuning in and contributing, mate. I really appreciate it. He's put up a comment saying winning should be a result of identity. It isn't the identity itself. Our culture and identity needs to carry us, not just when we win, but importantly when we don't and when times are harder. Like, obviously, Doug makes a really good point. Times have been harder the last few years, and it's not been great for Rangers over the last few years, especially in terms of trophies won, etc. What do you think of Doug's point there in terms of winning should be a result as a result of our identity, not the identity itself. What's your thoughts on that?
It's very good point there, Doug, actually, is because when like, for example, last 3 managers, we could all say that at times they didn't really take responsibility and accountability. Martin never did. I think the only time he actually ever did was against Falkirk. And I know he's been here for 120 odd days, whatever it was, but you know, Clermont didn't do that and they made excuses and gaslighting the fans and whatnot. But like when I just going back on, Gerrard's probably the only manager in recent times that we've had that's even remotely close to Walter Smith in terms of speaking after the games, didn't blame it on, you know, refereeing decisions, did it, you know, took responsibility and really could see he was hurt when we drew, hurt even more when we lost. And having that to actually relate to is the Rangers' identity, because that's how the fans feel. So that's what the fans want to see. So when you've got that man in charge that has that emotion, has that understanding of what's happened, then that's our identity. And then having the emotion, like I know the videos were going round about Gerrard, but even just watching back how emotional that man was on the sidelines watching us win, and it was very reminiscent of how Walter Smith reacted, and you know, so that's the Rangers' identity. So I completely understand and totally get everything that what Doug's said.
Yeah, absolutely. Joanne, I think a few people, when I mentioned this a few weeks ago on the pod, when it was one of my criticisms of Russell Martin, and I'm going to bring the players into this as well, right, rather than just based on Russell Martin, because we talk about identity and what Rangers are and what Rangers should be, right? One thing that really was a bugbear of mine was Russell Martin not wearing the suit. Right, and I think everyone's probably, or most people are probably in agreement with that. But there's some who don't see that as an issue, right? But again, when Dino and Doug there on the chat and Craig is saying about identity, I look at that as part of the Rangers' identity and say to myself, that's what Rangers are about, and that's where Rangers should be. Similarly as well, when the Rangers players are playing at home, for me, should be collar and tie. None of this tracksuit stuff. I'm not a big fan of the tracksuit stuff, but it should be the collar and tie. Is that you're feeling with it as well, Joanne? Would you prefer to see manager suited and booted, player suited and booted, and showing that Rangers identity rather than having the tracksuit side of things?
100%. Just shows you want to play for the club and be the manager of the club. I don't understand why you would be suited and booted. That's not a Rangers manager that won't wear a shirt and tie. Like, it's a uniform. Come on.
Absolutely.
100%. It actually really frustrated me when, you know, he was like, I can't wear it because I sweat, but he'll stand on the sideline with a black t-shirt on. Like, and we're beating, he takes the jacket off and walks up the tunnel. Like, come on, that's not a Rangers manager. Should be on the sideline giving the team, you know, shouting and bowling at them and with a shirt and tie on, regardless.
And that's why I wanted to pick up on that point, because I think for anyone watching, right, and anyone listening to what we're saying here, when we talk about Rangers' identity, it isn't just about what happens on the park. It's how we react to things off the park. It's how we do things in the press. It's how the players conduct themselves out with things. And I think as Russell Martin hasn't managed to get his style over, we know that with the players that I've got there. My next question to you all, and I'll come round you, and I'll come to Craig on this one first of all. Craig, would you say as a team, right, since, and somebody said it on here, talking about 55 is embarrassing, right? I can't remember who said it. It was a comment that I'd seen earlier on. I don't think it's embarrassing because it's the only part we can refer back to in terms of when we last won a title, right? And I'm saying to myself, the last time we won the title was that 55, and that was when we had our identity back at that point as Rangers. That felt like a proper Rangers season. So that's why I'm referring back to that, if anyone's wondering why we're going back to 55. Since then, have we tried to change the style too often to build a long-lasting identity, do you think, Craig, in terms of the managers leading that? Or should we as a club be leading what that identity is and the manager fit into that identity, do you think?
If you go back to then, or if you go back to when Gerrard left, I think we got a fairly good replacement in Van Bronckhorst. I think the issue with Van Bronckhorst was the same.
Oh, I think Craig is frozen.
Sorry
You
about
back with me, Craig? That's okay. You back with us, yeah?
Gerard made the comment about what was it, patching up the roof whilst the sun's shining. So he knew there was issues kind of behind the scenes, and I think Van Bronckhorst got the fair dunt of that because he was the guy that came in later. And since then, we've kind of thrown money. We certainly threw a lot of money at Beale. And the thing about Beale is, like as you mentioned, Beale. The thing with Beale is his win percentage at Rangers was 72%. It's one of the highest win percentages of any Rangers manager ever.
Yeah.
But everyone looks back at that time and goes, he was awful. So something went wrong. There, and obviously the main thing, it goes back to identity. He started losing games, and people were sick of it. So maybe there is a bit of a bit too much of the manager merry-go-round. But if things aren't working out the way they should be, why would you leave a guy in a job? You know what I mean? If he's not doing it properly. But it's quite funny with the Beale thing because it kind of plays against each other. He has one of the best winning percentages ever, but it wasn't working. And everyone could see it wasn't working. I still, to this day, still think that Beale, it was right to get rid of Michael Beale.
Yeah.
But there is that. You can't dispute that. But it's maybe a bit too much. But you don't leave a guy in a job that isn't doing it properly. So you have to keep going until you find the right guy.
Absolutely. And I think, again, some people are saying it as well, Craig, it's not just about what the club does on the pitch, it is how they react off the pitch. Someone was saying Beale wasn't great in front of the cameras, he wasn't great with the press and things like that. And some of the feedback we heard after Beale left was he wasn't great with the players from a man management point of view. That was the Gerrard thing that was the best for man management. Beale was the good at the coaching side. So again, it's all that identity. And you think to yourself, I think back to when Walter was in for his last spell with Rangers and you had the likes of McCoist and Durrant in there and Kenny McDowell. That was, if you're taking identity, you've got Walter as the main figurehead and he's the main man for Rangers. You've got the coaching in there through Durrant, McDowell and McCoist. You've got a bit of laugh and joking in that as well. That was the full round. I don't think you could have asked for a better setup in that year when Walter came back in with them. And I think that's what a lot of the Rangers fans are still clamouring for. They want back to those days in terms of where we've seen a really good identity to the club, and I think that's been, it's really missing at the moment. Dino, again, similar question to I'd say to Craig there in terms of a lasting identity, right? And we look at the managers that came in. You look at Beale, Clement, Van Bronckhorst as the most recent ones, and then obviously we know the disaster of Martin. But take Beale, Clement, and Van Bronckhorst. When you look at those three, very, very different identities in terms of how they wanted to set up Rangers and how they wanted to play. Why was none of them really a truly, obviously Van Bronckhorst, European final, Scottish Cup winner, Clement, League Cup winner, but they're not seen as absolute successes? Why not? Why were those guys with their identity not seen as a success? Beale as well, why was he not seen as a success as a Rangers manager with a 70% win percentage, one of the highest we've seen in a long time? What do you think is the reason behind that?
Multitude of reasons. Every summer that they came in, there was a rebuild. They all came in during the season as well, didn't they? Other than Martin, they all came in during the season as well. So I think that's the coming in, and the old cliche, well, overused cliche, square pegs round holes was a constant was a constant comment among Rangers fans about each manager and things like that. And loads of mitigating factors as to why they weren't successful. But at the end of the day, there was things that they could have implemented themselves and done differently. And, you know, when hindsight's a wonderful thing, but looking back, you know, how often we're obviously fans, but clear as day, seeing that somebody should be coming off and that they're not bringing them off, or somebody shouldn't be starting and they're starting. Do you know, there was loads just be things like that. And, you know, if things were done differently, I think the outcomes could have been slightly better. But the way that they, you know, that they carried themselves as well, it just, as Joanne said earlier on, when players, you know, down tools and stop playing for the manager, it's game over. And that happened with every single one of those three. So when that does happen, it's nigh on impossible to be successful. So it's obviously things that they've done to make the players not want to play for them. So you've got to have that figurehead. That's why we all keep going back to Walter Smith or Gerrard or whatever, because players wanted to play for them. Players never down tools to play for them. So there's something amiss with those selections, and you've got to think that, you know, law of averages, we have to get it right one time, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping that this next man, whoever it's going to be, whether it's Muscat or whoever, we've got to just hope that that's the next guy's the right guy, because we can't keep doing this every year. This is just mental, you know what I mean? And the amount of times we're all ready to go live for a new manager coming in, I think it's going to be mental if we keep doing this. So, hopefully this one is a good one, and we've got a good bit of success in the back of it. Joanne, one of the things that the Rangers fans, I think anyway, and I'm obviously a Rangers fan myself, I include myself in this one, right? One of the things I think is we've got a bit of a short-term memory, right? Whereas we look back at some of the managers and say, you know what, he actually wasn't that bad, and if he was here today, he would do a better job than the current manager, and so on and so on. One of the things I've seen over the last few weeks is a lot of people saying if Clement had been backed the same way as Martin was backed in the summer transfer window, Clement would have been a bigger success, right? And I think to myself, yeah, I get what they're saying on that, but then I remind myself of the Queen's Park game and how bad we were in that one and getting knocked out the cup and stuff, right? Clement had a very different strategy to the likes of Beale and Van Bronckhorst, and probably Clement was one of the closer ones to maybe going back to a Walter Smith type era again. Yeah. Just taking Clement before we move on to the next ones, would he have done better, do you think, if there was a better structure in there? Because somebody's put on, obviously, about your Thelwells, your Dan Purdy's and Patrick Stewart's and the structure that's there. Would Clement, do you think, have done better if he'd been given the same resources and the support that maybe Martin had been getting at the start of the season, do you think?
I think so, yeah. He just wasn't backed, was he? But from what Russell Martin got, then I think if Clement was there in his shoes, then he would have been successful, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I agree. I think you're right, John. I think you're right in that one. I think he would have been, and I think he was a bit unlucky with some of the results. And the Queen's Park one, like, that's a freak one, I think, as well. You look at that and you look at the chances we had in that game. We couldn't put the ball in the back of it. That's one of those ones. But I think you're right. I would agree with you. I think if he had the same backing and the same support structure, he'd have probably been much better. John, I'll give you a second question. I'm putting you on the spot with this one, and hopefully this guy doesn't come into your bar and challenge you on this one if you say anything bad about it, right? New manager comes in, we talk about identity, right? One of the things that the Rangers fans talk about all the time is club captain. Club captain leads the identity. Yeah. What's your thoughts? And it's one I wasn't actually going to touch on, but I'm just reading the comments and some have touched on it in the comments. What's your thoughts on identity through the club captain? Is James Tavernier the right captain for Rangers Football Club currently? And do you think he'll still be the Rangers captain given new manager coming in as well?
I think he will continue to be the captain. If it wasn't to be Tav, I think it would be Raskin. Personally, I don't know who else should be put as a captain of the club, other than possibly Butland, but I don't agree with a goalkeeper being the captain. But it does depend on what manager we bring in and what they think of the players, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to throw it out to you gents as well. Craig, captain, Tav, is he the man? Or is it someone else, do you think?
I think, look, if it's not him, yeah, it's probably Raskin or Butland. I don't have the same idea about a goalkeeper being I think a goalkeeper is actually in quite a good position to be a captain because he's standing there and he can see everything. So I think I actually think it's quite advantageous. But I do take the point because he's stood by the goal the whole time. But like Tavernier for years for me has always been it's been really difficult with him because he digs Rangers out a lot of holes. He does. He's done that multiple times, and you can't take it away from him. I really, for 10 years, was sat and watched him losing players at the back post. I don't know if it's something you've heard a lot on here, but it frustrates me so much when a right back or a full back can't defend the back post when a cross comes through. It really, really grates me, and we've lost a lot of goals from that. And look, it's not just him; every fullback loses players from time to time. But because he's been there so long, it's kind of more magnified on him. But in terms of his leadership, I don't think it's been too poor. Just overall leadership, not in terms of how good of a player he is. But he's someone for me that I have a really love-hate relationship with him. I can't always get on board with him just because of how many goals he's been sort of a big part in losing over the years. But again, it's magnified more because he's been there so long. But yeah, if I was to pick a Rangers captain right now, I would pick Nico Raskin.
Excellent. Dino, what's your thoughts? Tav, anyone else? Obviously, the reason we're asking this question again is because the captain should pillar that identity of the team, should pillar that identity of the club, should pillar how the fans are or feeling before games, after games, all that sort of thing. That's the responsibility of the captain is to be that figurehead for the club out with the manager. Is that Tav for you, or is that someone else, do you think?
I have been relatively vocal on that. I think we're starved of leaders in the team as a whole. And I think sometimes when you do have a goalkeeper as captain, you can have 5 or 6 other captains playing in front of him. So a lot of the leadership that's required for a outfield player is taken care of by members of the team. Like somebody had said there, when Kloss was captain, but Kloss had several captains in front of him. So, you know, and the way that Kloss carried himself, absolutely consummate professional, wasn't he? But in terms of Tav, I would have, he should have been away before now. As far as I'm concerned, he shouldn't even be a Rangers player. Should have went on to pastures new, and we should have been, you know, progressing, right? And, you know, be in a place now where we've got 5 or 6 captains in the team, you know, but we don't. And I think if Raskin isn't going to be signing a new contract, then we have to dangle that carrot at the captaincy in the front of him. When the new manager comes in, new era, new things, give him the captaincy, even a year's extension, give him the captaincy, goes away, has a good World Cup, makes us a lot of money. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I also contradicting myself here, so I do apologise. I don't really believe in giving somebody a captaincy for a matter of months. If you're going to be giving somebody the captain, you know, you want them to be the captain in your team for, you know, a couple of years type thing. So to go through this next phase of the club. But it's a tricky one because I don't think Tav offers anything that, you know, resembles what a Rangers captain should be as far as I'm concerned. And like Craig had said, if we'd had £1 for every time he lost his man at the back post, would be minted. And I think that was all. It wasn't overlooked over the years. It was, I guess, it was kind of balanced because although he would lose one at the back post, he'd go up and score a penalty or score at the back post. So it was kind of, well, you know, it's, you know, you can criticise him or praise him. It's up to you type of thing. But and how he's always carried himself, like, you know, Rangers captains coming out and, you know, I want his emotion in the Rangers captain, and you know he's called Captain Disappointed for a reason, isn't he? So there's ways that you can carry yourself being a Rangers captain, and he just doesn't do it for me.
Absolutely. Look, I couldn't disagree more with what you've all said, because you've all had really good points on that, and we could probably have another podcast on James Tavernier, couldn't we, about the good, the bad, the indifferent that we get from him. So I'm not going to jump too much into my thoughts on that one, because I'd be here all night if I'm being honest with you. Let's move on to another part of the topic, guys. And before we do that, though, I just want to say we are 40 minutes into the pod. We've got a lot of people watching, so thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Again, if I can just take this chance to plug, like and subscribe to the page, help the page out as much as you can, whatever social media and platform you are watching on. Also, just to our sponsors, proudly sponsored by Bluebells and Puerto del Carmen Lanzarote. Thanks to all the team over there for your sponsorship. We really do appreciate it. And obviously, we've got Joanne here, who is plugging a bar earlier on tonight, and we'll do another wee plug before we finish up, so that everyone knows where to go on a Saturday for Rangers bars. If we can, then, guys, just Craig, I'm going to come back to yourself on this one. We're in 2025, I think we are, and we're moving quite swiftly into 2026. Give me your view on what you think the three pillars of Rangers should be going into 2026 with the new manager, whoever it's going to be. What do you think those three pillars should be for Rangers? Now, I'll give you an example for me. I always say Rangers should be direct in our play. We should also have a never lose mentality, is the way I've always looked at it, and we should have never fear anyone. And I think we've lost all those at the moment. What would you say you'd like to see as your three pillars, whether it's in that the next Rangers manager coming in or any Rangers manager that's going to come in? What do you think there should be from a three pillars point of view going forward, mate?
So I take the biggest one I take there is the never lose. Like you just can't lose games. You know, again, I've made the point before tonight. Even Rangers can certainly outspend 10 of the 11 other teams in Scotland or in the Scottish Premiership. And I think we even outspent all 11 this summer. So, you know, you have no excuse. You are given the tools to be successful. There is absolutely no excuse to not be successful, certainly not as disastrously poor as Russell Martin was. So, For me, the not win thing is massive. I would add on to that, be, again, another point I've made already tonight, be defensively sound. Don't give away too many cheap goals. It's happened for years. Even Gerrard's team's done it until he managed to crack it and only conceded 13 in an entire season. Yeah, it happens too often, and it really, really grates me, because I'm only in my mid-20s, but the earliest Rangers manager I remember is Alex McLeish. But I know things of even Alex McLeish's teams. I mean, he won a treble and he was very successful. But things are built up. I know Graham Souness, when he started coming in, he came in. He built the team from the back. Chris Woods, Terry Butcher, Graham Roberts. You know, he built a strong defensive core and then looked forward, and that's what I would look at there as a massive thing. And then the overall feeling around the club. You talk about the wearing suits and just the way that the manager and the players present themselves. It's got to be brought back to that higher standard, because it's a psyche, it's a mental thing. Like if you're forced to live to those high standards, then on the pitch you then are more likely to play to those high standards. And the last thing that I'd really look at would be something around this is quite out there, but or not out there, but different. I want some more fan engagement. I want more talk. I want more transparency with fans. I think the big thing for that actually was when the statement was released after Martin got sacked, and they came out and just said, "We got it wrong. We apologise. We're going to make sure we get it right this time." It's something we're left in the dark too often, and I think it's something as a sort of a Rangers community, if you want to put it that way, we need to be more in the loop of what's. Obviously, we can't, like, they're not going to show us board meetings and things like that, but we need to be more in the loop more often on what's going on.
Yeah, I honestly, Craig, your points there are spot on. And the one that I absolutely loved there was the transparency part. I really love that because I think you're spot on. I think in this day and age, there's not enough transparency with Rangers just now. It's all cloak and dagger behind the scene. I think that was the way it was for a while as well, even maybe years ago. But in this era where you've got social media, you've got everything getting played out on the internet, for Rangers not to have the transparency that we need, I think is really poor. And I think that's a pillar that they should be, because the fans are the most important people there at the club. If you've not got any fans, you've not got a club, as far as I'm concerned, is the way to look at it. So they have to be transparent with the fans, definitely. Dino, just on what Craig said there, anything you would have different in terms of the three pillars that you would want from Rangers? And what's your thoughts on that transparency piece as well?
Aye, the transparency is, as you say, is massive in this day and age. I don't really want to hear from the club when we're doing well, right? Because that's getting back to the standards, because that should be the status quo at our football club. But in terms of accountability for mistakes and decisions that are made that are wrong and not in alignment with what should be made for their club, I want to see that transparency, and I want to see accountability. The powers above come out and saying, look, we got this wrong. We will do better next time. Sorry for letting you fans down, because you're the heartbeat of the club. You know, just things like that is, you know, and then they actually gain credit in the bank by being like that to the fans. And by not being like that to the fans, they just make the fans even more resentful towards them. You don't want to be resentful towards Rangers. You want to love Rangers. Do you know? I'm not saying that we don't love Rangers, but do you know what I mean? You don't want to be walking around cheesed off all the time because the club are just making a James Hunt of everything. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the sort of pillars going on what you were saying, you see, one thing I want to be brought back. See this going and clapping to the fans. Get that rubbish in the bin. Like, if you've drawn or got beat, you should be embarrassed. Get yourself into share. But see if you won, well, that's what you should be doing. Like, the fans are going to be there irrespective of the result. We don't need clap to just get down the tunnel and go on with it. You're playing for Rangers. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of like, it's embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. And that's one thing I definitely want to see changed.
You know, I fully agree with you on that one. Do you know one thing I hate at Rangers at the moment is win, lose or draw. They used to walk around the park, right? And it wasn't too bad in the previous season because you weren't losing too many in the last few seasons. But as we've started losing more and more, I just see that as a chance at the moment for the fans to get on the players' backs. And it doesn't do anyone any good if you're doing that. Do what you used to do in the Richard Gough era, the Alan McCoy era. You win a game, you finish up, you shake hands with the opposition, you applaud the players as you're walking off, applaud the fans as you're walking off the park. None of this round the park. Save round the park for when you won a title. That's the way I look at it, or the bigger games that you've won and you've done something really well on. So I honestly, I couldn't agree more with you, on that one. Joanne, we always heard Rangers are the quintessential club. They're the club that put the standards above everyone. Right, it's the club that have always set the standards. That's the way I was always brought up to understand it from a Rangers Football Club point of view, and I'm sure most people are in the exact same position.
Yeah.
What do you think we need to get back to that? Because I think it's probably, and I'm trying to say this as best I can, it's probably well known that Rangers are not setting the standards at the moment. They're not where we were years ago. How do we get back to being that club that set the standards, are ahead of everyone? We're always trying something different. We're always setting the bar to that next level. How does Rangers get back to that in terms of the identity, in terms of those pillars we want to put around it? Is it just purely manager, or does it go deeper than that in terms of the board and the structure behind a manager or a head coach, whatever the situation is? What's your thoughts on all that situation that's going on just now?
I think you need the manager. You need a good background team with him, with Rangers history. You need somebody alongside the manager that knows the club in and out. They know what it's like to play for the badge. They know what it's like for the fans. You know yourself. You know the whole atmosphere is just absolute flat and dire. People leaving constantly when we're getting beat. There's no pride and passion about the place. It's just flat, and you get people that go, can't even be bothered going to the game. Like, you don't want that. The club needs to be back to its fighting ways where the players are fighting for a place in the team. They're playing for that. They're playing for the jersey, you know. That crest means everything to them, not just go on and just, you know, it's hurtful to the fans. Think of the fans that travel absolutely everywhere, you know, every home, away game, everywhere possible. They do everything for the club, and performances are just nothing.
Yeah, totally agree. So Joanne, on that, I'm going to ask you a question, right? So we've got new manager coming in, and we still don't know if it's Muscat or whoever it's going to be, McCann or what, right?
Yep.
Out of the squad that we've got just now, if you could, in realistic budgets and realistic targets, if you could sign one player that you want to bring into Rangers that would epitomise what you think would be the standards that needs to set, do you have a player in mind? Or if I've just thrown you under a bus there and you don't have a player in mind, I'll come back to you if you don't.
Well, I don't know. It's a bit tricky. I think we need quite a few new decent players that knows what it's like to play for the club, rather than just putting a set of boots on and going on the park and getting paid for it. You know. I think that's the thing. People don't realise what it's like to play for Rangers. You know, like, okay, we're signing for the club, and then they're not playing for the badge. They're not bothering how they're playing. Do you know what I mean? And what it means to us fans to watch them, and it's an absolute embarrassment more than anything else.
Yeah.
But that is a tricky question.
Scotty's just, I'll give you a few examples. Scotty's saying, and a few people are now saying this. So Scotty said Billy Gilmore. Scotty then said Lewis Ferguson. Sir Blue said Lewis Ferguson as well. Somebody said that the lad Ballard from Sunderland, good centre back as well. Scotty's put another one in there, Shankland. So for me, those, Joanne, for me, are the type of players I think Rangers, one, have missed out on badly with Lewis Ferguson. I think that was a big one. Shankland was a no-brainer for me in the summer. He should have been signed in the summer. Are we saying, is that the type of player that Rangers are missing to improve that identity again, do you think?
I would say so, yeah, and more so Billy Gilmore. Like, got put on loan, didn't he? And it's sold. He could be, now he's living the life, but he could have been, you don't know where he could have come up with Rangers. But Shankland, 100%, you just wonder why, like, we didn't go in for him. Like, why not?
Yeah.
What was the reason behind that? Was it the previous board? Like, because it could have been a complete game changer.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Craig, what would you say from your perspective, if you had one player that you had to bring in to try and instill that identity you want in the club, who would you think that player should be, given reason, budgets and realistic targets, etc.?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm sitting here, I'm racking my brain. I'm trying to think of an individual player that is currently, because, you know, you can say Billy Gilmore and Lewis Ferguson at a time, yes. But is Lewis Ferguson the captain of Bologna and Serie A within Rangers' budget now? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they would look at him in terms of how much money they'd be looking for him. But one thing I would say on this, not an individual player, but we had a head of recruitment position at the club completely lying empty with no one running it during the transfer window. And then about 3 or 4 weeks after the transfer window shuts, Kevin Thelwell puts his own son in that position. with very, very little, very, very little experience in there. You've got a guy like Davy Weir, who does know what it's like to play for Rangers, knows what it's like to win trophies at Rangers, knows everything about Rangers, has done a fantastic job at bringing players in at Brighton for the past 3 or 4 years, working with Tony Bloom, who I think is the main reason why Hearts are doing so well right now, because that guy has a database or something, because it's not right how he's able to put money into clubs and they automatically sign gems all the time. But Davy Weir was part of Tony Bloom's setup at Brighton, who have signed a lot of great players and sold them for a hell of a lot of money. And he should know better than anyone, Davy Weir, what it's like to play for Rangers. So if he was in that position, he would be able to snuff out right away, this guy's got the ability and he's got the attitude. So I couldn't give you a name of a player off the top of my head, but that is what I would have done. I think that would have put us in a much better position going forward than what we now have.
Craig, I'm going to say you probably hit the nail on the head, and you probably was at the walk with that one there, because I'm thinking more along the lines of players, right? But Dino, I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on this one as well. But Craig's just hit us with Davy Weir for being in at the club, and when I think about that, I think to myself, Davy Weir could be the guy that Rangers are missing at the moment. Regardless of who's on the pitch, he could be the guy that structures that behind the scenes and does what we need. What do you think about the shout for Davy Weir? And is there anyone player-wise that you think we could be bringing in that could help us going forward under new management?
Davy Weir's a no-brainer because of the reasons that Craig just mentioned. And if we cast our memories back to not long ago, Souness had publicly said there's not enough Rangers men at Ibrox. And that's obviously true, isn't it? So, and there's less and less at Ibrox, and I mean, look at the state that we're in at the moment. So, how accurate is Souness with that comment? I would say it's pretty damn accurate. So getting people like Davy Weir in is just should be stuff that the club are doing. Even getting, getting Souness in as a, for guidance on this next manager appointment, or people like that in and around our club and these positions, I think is imperative to the running of our club. But a player that I would bring in is I would go out and buy Shankland in January. I know people are going to say he's just signed a new contract with Hearts. Hearts are on a good trajectory right now, but if we're serious about wanting to take back Scottish football, we need Scottish players that are better than what we've got, as far as I'm concerned. And Shankland ticks every single box that we need. One of the most important things that we need is experience and leaders, and he is exactly that. And we have got very, very little of that in our squad. So, in terms of our financial capabilities, I would like to think that he would fall under the remit, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if I was the next Rangers manager, the first thing I'd be doing is looking at a Lawrence Shankland type player for the summer. One somebody else said as well, and I know some people are going to probably criticise me for this and say we shouldn't be going back the way. Nathan Patterson is another really good Scottish player I think would do well. Is he within our budget? Is he not? I don't know. That's still a thing.
Can I just come in on that?
Of course.
So I don't know what truth there is in it, but there was reports suggesting in the summer that Everett are still due us money for him as well. So
that's interesting. So
I don't know if that's true. That it was obviously a few years ago now that he left, but apparently he's that Everett are still due us money. So if that's the case, I would be looking to make a wee deal with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get him back in, and that's that lift the standards of our football club. That's for sure. As far as I'm concerned, he's like the best right back Scotland have got, and he would be. I I think it's a shame that he's not getting an opportunity at Everton, but they're a bit of a we all know about Everton. So yeah, Nathan Patterson, get him in.
I would take him in a minute. I think some people are mentioning, look, he's a bit injury prone and things like that. I think it's a tough one for him because he's not going to run of games, and if you're not getting the run of games, you are going to be open to injury prone, especially if you're trying to get back into it and stuff. But I loved him when he was here, and I thought he left Rangers far too early, but they got us the money that we needed, which was good. So yeah, he would be one for me. Shankland, look, I think some Andrew's saying Miovski is better than Shankland. I agree. I think Miovski is better than Shankland. However, I think Shankland could maybe do something a little bit different for us that we don't have at the moment. And for me, I'd be pushing the boat out in Jang. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be if we're going for players like that. I think for me, when I look at all this and we talk about identity, I think the big thing that Rangers have lost is that Scottish identity from a player point of view. If you look back at the clubs from years ago and you had that Scottish identity running through the team, we don't have that just now. And I think Barry Ferguson mentioned that if he was the manager, and again, he would have been another one I'd have taken hands down the season. But if he was the manager, he'd have brought that identity back in the club, I think is one of the things he said. So I'd have loved to have seen that. I'd have loved to have seen that Scottish identity run through again. But also, I think there needs to be an identity through the backroom staff, whether it's through Davy Weir being his sporting director or recruitment or whatever. I think there needs to be something like that as well. So it'd be really good to see Rangers get back to that in some way, shape or form. Look, we're coming close to the end. We've been on for an hour. We've got lots of people watching, which has been fantastic. Really, really great comments in. There's far too many. I'm struggling to keep up with all the comments that are coming in. So apologies if I've not got to highlight your comment. I just want to try and finish up and just put a little bit of focus on obviously where we think the next few days are going to lead to. So game on Saturday, Craig. Looking at Saturday, we've got Dundee United at home. Always a tricky time, and never an easy game against Dundee United. Looking at all the information we know at the moment, is Neil McCann going to be the guy in that dugout on Saturday ahead of Muscat? Is it going to be Stevie Smith? What would you like it to be to try and get behind the team on Saturday and take us forward, really?
In terms of who's going to be in the dugout, I think whoever's been running training this week, I hear it's Stevie Smith, but whoever's been running training this week is the guy that should be taken, because we're now, I mean, it's 10:05 on Wednesday night and the game's on Saturday, so you've only got Thursday, Friday left. So whoever's been running training through the week and through the international break with the players that aren't on international duty, that's the guy who should be taking the team on Saturday. Dundee United's never easy. They've signed a lot of players, Dundee United. It took them a couple of weeks to get sorted. They had a big overhaul of the squad. Unlucky in Europe against Rapid Vienna to losing penalties. The boy, I forget, Sapsford, the new striker they brought in, looks very, very good. Looks very good. So I'd be wary of him. I'd be interested to see if it's Suter and Cornelius, or if it's Suter and Giga with Cornelius at left back. Let's see how that sets up, and within that, who is going to be the main guy and looking after him, because he looks a real handful. But in terms of overall, like, you have to back the players. You have to back the guys in the dugout. You have to get behind them. You have to support them. There's no other, as a fan, there's no other way you can go about that. You can't just turn your back on this guy. Again, assuming it's Stevie Smith, he's been thrown in at the deep end here massively, and anything else but support for him is just stupid.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Craig, on that one. I really do. Joanne, if it is, as Craig said there, if it's Stevie or whoever it is that takes the team for Saturday, do you think there'll be a bit of a different feeling about the atmosphere this Saturday? Obviously, no Russell Martin. Do you think it'll be more of a positive approach from the fans, getting behind the manager, whoever's there?
I would like to hope so. Ibrox needs to be full. Atmosphere needs to be kept going. We need to get back. We need to back the team, back whoever's. Obviously, it's got to be Neil McCann or Stevie Smith. We need to get just get Ibrox back to the way it used to be, get the players fighting for a place in the team, and it's just a waiting game now for the manager, isn't it? But yeah, I think it will be a different atmosphere now Martin's gone, because it was very sour and just wasn't Ibrox in my eyes when he was there. So now he's gone. Hopefully, don't think we'll have any news before Saturday, right enough, but hopefully everyone's just there to support the team that we all love.
Absolutely. And do you know, come Saturday, 3 p.m, Ibrox, I personally think Ibrox would probably be one of the best atmospheres compared to what we've seen all season. I think we give the players and the management, whoever that is, the best support that we can give them, get back on track. This for me feels like this is our season kicking off again. Let's get it going. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it'll be an interim that's in play, or do you think Muscat might be there? And what's your overall feeling for Saturday? Do you know, maybe give us a wee score prediction if you can as well, mate.
What was that last bit?
A wee score prediction if you can as well, mate, please.
So going by what Craig was saying in transparency, I want to see if I think we could all, predict that there's not going to be a permanent manager in place on Saturday. But the transparency, I want to see the club come out and reassure the fans. Look, if they've not made a decision, but taking charge of the games between now and the manager coming in as Stevie Smith and Neil McCann both. That's the type of thing I want to see, not just one of them. I want to see both of them, because they both have different characteristics and attributes that I think would bring a bit of galvanising to this squad, which is obviously very much needed, and a wee bit of lift to them, and that will give fans that bit of belief again, won't it? And like Joanne said, back the team, that there shouldn't be an empty seat on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'd actually be going up, but I'm not going to be able to make it. So yeah, I think if we can go out and put on a good performance and win 2 or 3-0, a wee statement, that'll give the fans belief that the players aren't as bad as they've looked under Martin, and give everybody a lift that we're really, really needing right now. So go and play that pressure, chest out, head high. You're playing for Rangers, go and do it.
Yeah, that winner's mentality, isn't it? That's exactly what we talk about all day. And look, I agree. I think Saturday's got to be a turning point for us. I think we need to go out there and show a really good performance. We need to take this as the kickstart to our season. This period of fixtures now is probably one of the most important we're going to have, I think, all season out, with that festive window you normally get. So yeah, good time to start it off. Look, if it's McCann, Stevie Smith, Muscat, my dog, I don't really, whoever it is that's in there, I am just glad we've got something different, is where I'm feeling with it, if I'm being honest. And I just think it's going to be interesting to see how the players react to this one going forward. So yeah, it'll be really good. Craig, give me a score prediction if you can for Saturday, please, mate.
I've been rambling on about defensive structure and everything, and I cannot for the life of me ever see Rangers keeping a clean sheet nowadays. Until I get, so I'll go for 2-1 to Rangers. Excellent.
Joanne, what's your thoughts? Saturday score prediction?
When I feel hopeful and hopefully would get a clean sheet. Hopefully 3-0, but I think I might be wishful thinking there. A win, that's all we need. We need 3 points. Most important to get us all happy and get the vibe back again.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to stick my neck out there, and I'm going to say this could be a high scoring game. Rangers by 3 or 4. I think this one. I just think there's a bit of a different feeling about it. I'm hoping they're going to come out and try and show us this is the. I maybe have had one too many beers tonight by saying that, if I'm being honest, but I honestly think that they're going to try and show something a little bit different. So hopefully we'll get to see that. Listen, folks, thank you so much. Joanne, I just want to give you the last word on tonight's podcast. You are, this is your first time being on with us, and obviously we want to help plug the bar and stuff like that. So again, if you can, just a wee reminder for anyone who's just come in and just started, where's the bar and how can they get in touch through social medias and stuff?
So the Rosevale in Partick, or Walter Smith's old bar. Easy enough to get to, get the train, the subway, and most importantly, we're only 2 stops to Ibrox. So it's so handy on match days, pre-game or after game. And you can get us on Facebook or Instagram.
Perfect. And well, we're at Halloween time, Joanne. So are we saying here, I'm probably setting you up here, right? Are we saying that anybody that dresses up as a Rangers football manager, brown brogue, shirt, tie, things, they maybe get a wee discounted drink on Halloween? Is that maybe what we're saying? So I'm going to, I'm looking at my tie right now if that's the case. So we'll be good for that. So
also, there is coming up next month, there is an event happening which will all be confirmed very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled on social media.
Excellent. Joanne, you've left everyone hanging with that now, so they're all going to be like, what's going on, what's happening? So no, listen, that's brilliant. And as you say, there'll be more details shared across all the social media platforms. So excellent. Look, just for me, guys, thank you to everyone that's tuned in. The comments have been incredible. The viewership that we've had across the course of the last 70 minutes or so has been fantastic. Fantastic panels been on tonight. Really good discussion. A little bit of a different discussion in terms of what we've been having. It's all been a lot manager focused. This time we tried to look at a little bit different tonight, and I think you've done that really well. So, Craig, thanks, mate, for all your input. Really great points and great to hear from you tonight, mate.
Thanks for having me, mate. I always enjoy coming on, and hopefully I'll be on a good few more.
Absolutely. Definitely see you again, mate. Joanne, thank you to you. Really appreciate you coming on. It's been brilliant, and hopefully this is your first of many that you'll have with us.
Yeah, definitely will. Had a great night. Thank you.
Excellent. And Dino, thanks again, mate. I know you were just in from work. The commitment from yourself, mate, is tremendous on that one, mate. So really great points. Always love being on with you, mate. It's always a pleasure. Hope to see you again soon, mate.
Aye, definitely. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure and privilege as always.
Folks, thank you to everyone. Again, thank you to our sponsors, the Bluebells and Puerto del Carmen and Lanzarote. We're proudly sponsored by them. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your comments. Please like and share across our social media platforms. It'd be great just to hear, following on from this, if anyone's got anything they want to add to some of the conversation we've had tonight. Let's all hope for some positive news over the next couple of days around the management team. And let's hope get into Saturday we get a really good performance and 3 points at the end of it. Most importantly, folks, just remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night.